Welcome to The Resilient Responder, the podcast where we explore stories of strength, courage, and unwavering resilience in the face of life's challenges, as told by first responders. Join us now on a journey of inspiration and empowerment as we dive in with Dylan, Josh, and Patrick.
Welcome to another episode of The Resilient Responder, sponsored by First Responder Coaching and hosted by Scars Incorporated. My name is Patrick Clark, and we are, and I know you hate introductions.
I do.
And I'm so sorry. It rolled
No,
right off my
I
tongue.
know you do.
I thought we added the introduction into the introduction.
We
so
did,
we
like in
wouldn't
the
have to
opener,
do
it
that.
says, now let's dive in with Dylan, Josh, and Patrick.
Yeah.
So that's Dylan, that's Josh, and Patrick.
This would be the round robin because people forgot what we looked like and all.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, I pressed the wrong button there. It's definitely been a minute, and life happens.
Like
We've literally been up here since, 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Sitting here talking about things and us and life and all the good things that are good things and all the bad things that are bad things. But we are back in the barn in our new, I think this is our new spot.
I like this spot.
this is our second time in this spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more
I had to talk you guys
relaxed.
into
It's
this.
comfortable. It's
You didn't have to twist my arm.
The first time you were like, but the bar, and I was like, but the couch.
Yeah. It's definitely more comfortable over here.
It is definitely more comfortable. So let's just dive in. We have completed our first responder coaching class.
State of West Virginia has 3 certified first responder coaches.
Thanks to First Responder Coaching, Jennifer and her team,
Yeah.
which we got to see Jennifer. Well,
Yeah.
not all. Well, we all did.
Not all
but
together,
at
but we all
different
got to
times.
see her. Yeah, that's right.
Jennifer was in town. She came into. I got to see her at Weston when I went down for the meeting with her and the guys from Battalion 1 Consultants. You guys got to go Friday. Is that right?
Friday
Yeah.
we met with them. Yeah, we had lunch with them. Yep.
That was it was kind of it was good to kind of like come back together. We haven't seen her in a while. We got to see Audrey. We spent 12 weeks with Megan.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing or anything, Megan, if you're watching.
If you're not, we'll talk about it this week.
But we got to spend 12 weeks with Megan, and we've gotten to know several of the people from First Responder Coaching, mainly via email. But it's been good to interact with them. The coaching class was a huge success.
I feel that way.
That was an amazing class. What are your thoughts?
It is quite an amazing class. It is a learning experience, not only for what you can bring to the table from the other side, but what you have on the table in front of you as well. So during that class, I think some of the practice coaching that was done was very beneficial. You know, from all standpoints of dealing with trauma over the years, and what we've started with the show and with the outreach, and it's been very interesting to over the last few months of travels, whether that be for work or whatever, having people that recognize us from the program. I bought you cigars up at the Fire Expo there in Monroeville, and the only reason I bought those was because as I was passing through looking at the different vendor booths, the guy that was standing there recognized from the show and knew that
There
there were cigar fans, and
yeah. Fat boys cigars.
that was that was kind of a very blissful moment, I guess. You know. But as far as the coaching goes, I think we've gained a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge when it comes to the subject matter at hand, and can continue to grow that. You know, the reason that Battalion 1 Consulting and FRC was in town was this multi-county collaboration that's going on.
Like a task force.
Right now it's, Upshur, Lewis, and Randolph. However, they were able to meet, Battalion 1 was able to meet with folks from Clay, Braxton, Gilmer, Calhoun, and soon to be Barber. So, that's adding 5 onto the first 3. You know, we're quickly approaching something that is sustainable in not only North Central West Virginia, but you know, far reaching to that. And then we've got the opportunity to interact with other coaches that are through FRC, and you're starting to see that national and even international footprint, right? So you're starting to see how good this relationship is, how good this program is, and being able to come to the forefront of mental health as opposed to a reactive. You're being proactive, and you know, teaching people how to recognize the signs and how to, you know, have the difficult conversations and how to be that forward-facing individual or individuals that are out there for all the first responders across the spectrum.
I was interested in how close Battalion 1 consultants and first responder coaching worked well together. They travel together. They complement each other
very well.
Yeah, and
it's almost like they're brother and sister.
Same team. Yeah, same team, and it's a team that wants to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's important to know what each of them actually do as well, and because I think there's that skewed point even for us when we first started down the road was what exactly these two entities do, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, with the Battalion 1 side of it, you know, those guys are coming in and they're assessing and they're evaluating and they're coming up with SOPs and SOGs and they're pulling all the data and doing all the legwork, when then the coaching side is just that, just, you know, the training and the practice and the on hands, you know, all hands on deck, kind of bringing it all to the forefront to train the folks. And then, you know, like I said, Battalion 1 with the putting the policies and procedures in place and pulling all the data for you.
So in a sense, one's preparing you for how to act, and one's acting on okay, something inevitably in this business, something bad's going to happen. We all know that.
Well, yeah.
Everybody. That's the
not
whole reason.
when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when people call.
Right.
They don't call and say, "Hey, just checking in with you guys. You like brownies?" You know, they're calling because something bad's happened, the lowest point in their life. And
I do like brownies.
I do too. So that's why my legs crossed to hide how much I like brownies. But see, squirrel. To be able to, this is how we operate when something bad happens, and then something bad happens. Now, how do we take care of our own?
Right.
And I think that's a huge thing. And the resources that are available to the three of us, the other coaches, pretty cool stuff.
Well,
and the fact that we have the ability, to be a coach now, and I think from a professional standpoint, the big takeaways, number one, from a personal standpoint, if you look at that class, it was a very tight knit class. There were 4 people, us 3 plus Deb, who's like our mother now, kind of.
I would go with sister. I think she's
Okay,
going to smack you this week for saying
Right.
that, but.
I mean, she treated us like a mother.
She did. She's a mother hen. Yeah.
Well, I guess Megan was actually our true mother.
Yeah.
But so you have Deb, who was like our adopted sister.
Okay.
Adopted.
Yeah.
And then you had Megan, who was the instructor. But it was a very tight knit group. The 3 of us obviously know each other very well, and we played off of each other very well. But even if you take that side out of it, just the pure interaction that took place during class and the pure vulnerability was something that really resonated with me. There was one class session to where I was not having a good week.
No.
And I don't know, you weren't there that week. You were traveling.
I thought I was.
No, you were traveling that week.
Okay.
You were there, and you know, I was just not having the week at all. There was a lot of stuff going on, and
Yeah, we definitely had to call an audible. I mean,
Yeah.
class was kind of.
we
So
weren't
that
ready.
was the other important thing, though, is that, you know, even though the class was 12 weeks, I missed a class, you missed a class, you know, and we were able to watch the recording, get caught back up, not lose any of the reading work, and being able to progress forward.
Yeah.
So I thought that was important too, that it does work around your schedule. It truly is that, you know, 2-hour a week session that, you know, we did on the date that we picked, you know, because we ended up moving from Thursdays to Wednesdays, and
And we did that halfway through because of a scheduling snafu.
Now, we did have the conversation on Friday that probably moving forward, if there was 3 people from, the same department or 3 people from the same area, that they probably would not be in the same class because.
Yeah, I would not recommend it as much as I love you guys.
Right. Yeah, and we made that recommendation also. But the one thing that I would do is, and Jennifer was great to talk about this, was maybe make it a 13-week course just because you need that icebreaker night.
Yeah, that's right.
That first class is kind of like the icebreaker. We didn't necessarily need that, but if you watch, the first night of class, even Deb didn't know how to take us very well, right? So
most of society doesn't know how to take us.
And that's true as well. But after,
she's probably like, what are these?
So it takes that first 2 hours to
They
really
have a
just
following?
have the icebreaker, have some nice little fun facts, or doing this chart, or different things to figure out everybody's learning style and how they're going to mesh as a group. So that may be something that they look at moving forward with the program. So
Megan is watching, and she said that she's mother hen.
Yeah.
But no, like the first couple classes, it took us a while even to, before we would open up with Deb.
Sure.
Like, I mean, it did for me. Like,
typical first responder stuff, right? Like, you don't know how safe the zone really is. And I think that's important to think about, because every one of us has been burned by a colleague or a coworker, right?
Sure.
Like, you say something in confidence, and it may have been last week, and it may have been 20 years ago, but something along the way has made us even more susceptible to shut down than what we already are. Like, it's already a nature thing with being an alpha personality and having, all the stresses on your plate, but at some point you got burned, right? Like, at some point you told your partner something, or somebody at the squad something, or somebody at the firehouse something that got out to other folks, or got spread around, or maybe your words got twisted into something that they weren't. So we've all been burned, and that I could feel that in that first class session of, I'm not sure how much I want to share with these folks, because once you have to really realize that you're in that safe environment, that you have that freedom and flexibility.
And that was one of the points that I was making to Jen, was if I was coaching you, and it's engaging in conversation of, so Dylan, how long have you been married, or are you married? How long have you been married? Do you have any children? There's so many questions, and then because of the 3 of us and what we do, unfortunately, I know some of your skeletons, so I don't want to go down that path with you in front of other people.
Perfect strangers, right?
So, and I feel like the investigating part of coaching with a stranger, and I felt like it was also kind of bad on Deb, because it was like Deb and Patrick, Deb and Josh, and Deb and Dylan. And it was almost like she should get a trophy for dealing with the 3 of us. And
I mean, it's a participation trophy.
Yeah, right. But Megan, she should get a trophy on taking editing the video of what she can show and what she can't show. She's like, oh, you guys, what are you doing? We got to piece this out, record that, put it over there. But yeah, so I think that 3, 4, however many people, 5 people that don't know each other from different walks of life would have been more. I think it would have been more interesting.
But we did
It would
get
have been
to
interesting, yeah.
we got to coach each other. You coached me a couple times. You and I coached each other once, maybe just once for you and I too. But I
think it was once for you, and then you.
And
for
that's
me.
what I think it's what it was for us.
Yeah.
But even the fact that we know each other very well, and the fact that we communicate on a pretty frequent basis, I would say, like, there was still stuff that we were able to pull that had never been discussed before.
Yeah.
And
that's what made it very interesting, I think, is because I think that you made a good point earlier in the evening before we talked about anything or come on the air, but when you talk about the skeletons, right? Like, we found more even during the class. Right. So it was one of the deals where, oh my God, like, here was a trigger that, I forgot that one was hanging out in there. I forgot that this skeleton that I buried, 10 years ago, forgot about him. Well, here he comes rearing his ugly head back, right? So as you dig into these subjects, then it's like unpeeling an onion.
That's
you know?
right.
You get clear back to day one of the very first traumatic episode, the very first skeleton you ever stored away, and there it all comes from, right? And then, we also dig into that aspect that, most first responders, not all, but most come from childhood trauma and how that affects. So there is that good and bad of having us three together, but, there was a good part of not having to break the ice and so on and so forth, but there's that bad part of not having to break the ice and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I understand why a lot of our local agencies are partnering and doing this as a group so that, I necessarily don't have to coach Patrick, but I can recognize Patrick's got this, and this on his plate, and I can recommend to somebody or have somebody else talk to him because he may not open up the way that, XYZ person from another agency might open up just because we have a similar background but don't know each other's call history.
And I think sometimes, just like to your point, where at some point in time, maybe yesterday or 20 years ago, somebody burnt you. So I think the fact that you do know me can sometimes hold back true emotion.
Sure.
Because, you and I've known each other 40 years.
Yeah, at least.
So in 40 years of knowing each other, there might be things that are deep in your closet. You're like, there ain't no way I'm letting him know about this. He's going to make fun. He makes fun of me enough about stuff he does know.
Right.
So, it's true though, right?
Like when he told you the only reason he hasn't paved it is so you can get your steps in.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm not real sure, but I think he called me fat. I was going with the injured part, but I'm pretty sure he called me fat.
You wanted to drive down here. It's literally 100 feet.
Well,
Like you said that, just helping you get your steps in, bud. I was like, man.
Called me fat.
But at the end of the day, to put your trust into a stranger that you've built a relationship with, that doesn't know the same people that you know, and there's the confidence in that by itself.
Sure.
I think a lot of it has to do, though, if you think about it, and think of a therapist, for example. For me, if I were to embark on a therapy journey right this minute, I don't want to have to spend the first 4 sessions explaining who I am, what my career is. Like I don't want to have to explain that. I want to be able to go to somebody who understands the world of a first responder. You don't have to know the ins and outs of everything, but I need you to have a general understanding of, okay, he's probably subjected to a lot of trauma. He's probably subjected to a lot of stress. Probably, like the basic 101 stuff, so that I'm not spending the first 3 sessions explaining, like talking about something, and then just staring at me. It's like, okay, let me break this down for you, because then I feel like it's a waste of time. But if I go to Dylan, or if I go to you and say, hey, X, Y, and Z call really screwed me up, and you're like, okay, well, let's talk about it, because you understand.
Yeah.
Most of our viewers even understand.
I'm not in the shock and awe of, wow, you seen that?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's always that was always a fear of mine, was would a therapist really look at you and go, you seriously saw that?
Yeah.
Because like, how do you respond to that? I didn't leave.
And I think it's important to say that there's a huge difference between therapy and coaching.
Oh, huge.
And I didn't realize that when I went in.
Drastic difference.
Yeah. And not that I ever thought that we were going to get certificates to be a therapist. I don't think anybody in their right mind would ever give me a certificate to be a therapist, right?
Yes, this is very true.
So.
Oh, you have a lot of room to talk.
I know, right?
Hello, pot me kettle.
I didn't make the claim that he just made either.
But there's a huge difference, and it's more of a partner to help you navigate through troubled waters.
Like a life coach.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's more of listening and being able to ask difficult questions in a controlled environment and not give you the answer. It's not the navigation of in 500 feet you're going to make a left. No, If you're going to make a left, why are you making a left? Why aren't you making a right?
Right.
Why are you going down this path instead of that path?
And Megan, to Megan and Deb even, because and you and everybody was in class, Megan was really good about finding a nerve.
Mm-hmm.
And so was Deb, and so were you. You were probably the best at it. Yeah.
Shocker.
Oh,
Josh found somebody's last nerve.
No, but like
I didn't look at it that way, but
I did.
well, there were a couple of times that the session that you coached me, like we started down, and I think we're all three very similar in the sense of we're not exactly the easiest people to peel back sometimes,
Right.
but you, I gave you, and I forget even what I said, but I gave you an inch, and man, you jumped right in and you took off after me,
Yeah.
and you're like, and you got me to a point to where I was ready to make that left, and I was like, man, if I can make that left, I'm gonna fall off this cliff. I better go right.
Yeah.
But like it was a controversial, in my mind, it was controversial because it's like, well, wait a second, like, you know, it was a real life situation for me, and you and I are sitting here having this discussion, and I think literally the thing you asked me is, well, why would you do that? And I stopped and I'm like, well, why wouldn't I? And you're like, I don't know, you tell me. And we went back and forth to the point to where it was almost an argument. Do you remember that
No.
class? Of course you don't.
ain't that awful?
It
It
is
was
awful.
like week 5 or week 6 because
Yeah.
I almost called you afterwards and said,
Listen here.
I'm not going to be at week 7, 8, 9, 10. Or sorry, Megan, but but no, like I mean, I think a life coach is a great descriptor of what that class really kind of prepares you to be.
Yeah.
Because you're not just focusing on the trauma. You're
No.
not just focusing on bad EMS stuff. You're not, or fire stuff, or law enforcement stuff. I mean, Megan's husband is law enforcement. We're all 3 fire. Some of us are EMS.
Yeah.
You know, but we didn't focus on that. It wasn't 100% focused on that because we would never start out the conversation that way. We'd start out the conversation with, so how was your week? What did you do this?
Yeah.
You had an incident one week related to your career or related to your job, and I think Deb was coaching that week,
Yeah.
and she instantly was like, "All right, Joshua, how's your week been?" And man, that just it just opened up,
Yeah.
and you let us all have it.
Yeah.
I muted you.
Well, that's fine. But that's the as awkward as I thought it was going to be having a one-on-one conversation with an audience. It wasn't. I zoned them out.
Right.
It was between me and you, and that's the way that I looked at it. And then there were certain things, and this is the other thing that I kind of felt. And Jennifer invited us to jump on other sessions, other classes, just to maybe see, because you don't get one of us, you get 3 of us. So whenever somebody was coaching, if Deb was coaching you, it wasn't nothing for me to unmute and throw my 2 cents in.
Right.
Then next thing you know,
Right.
Dylan was
We all- but we-
unmuted.
but we did that.
I know
There
we
was-
did that.
There were a couple of times. One time you coaching him, that I came off mute immediately. And
Yeah.
Like
What are you doing that for?
Yeah, and I like it, but even with Deb, whoever was coaching Deb, we all did that.
Yeah.
And even Megan would.
If somebody signed up for coaching through FRC and be like, okay, the Scars boys are there, and you get all 3 of them. Oh, I only wanted one coach. Well,
They have to
tough
work
luck.
together.
Yeah.
They don't have a choice.
Yeah, sorry
Them-
for you.
Them separated is no fun. They have to be together.
It's very much though, going back to, like you said, it's not therapy. It's not a session with a psychiatrist. Now, therapy is an important tool, but again, it's reactive, right? Like, but this is looking more forward facing, more at the proactive, more of the catch something in the immediate, catch something that, recognizing that there's a problem in front of you, not a problem that happened.
But a part of our class was to recognize who's not ready to be coached.
That's true as well.
Some people need therapy.
You're
Some
right.
people need coached. And different stages of stress and different stages of trauma and different stages of life would require different
Right.
different entities.
But again, it's still that recognition. And,
the recognition, yeah.
And I think that a majority, no, I won't say a majority, there aren't enough first responders who seek therapy because the stigma's still there.
Sure.
But making a difference by having more coaches, more folks that are familiar with some telltale signs could potentially help more people get into that therapy, that more of the reactive. We talked about this also. You may come back from a call, and that call really wasn't bad, but maybe it's a pediatric call. Mm-hmm. But what that did was that brought back the last 3 pediatric calls that you already put, there you hung the skeleton, put them in the back of the closet. But this one triggered those other guys to come out,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's still that recognition point of, hey, are you okay? And I thought that that Paul made a really good statement while we were at lunch the other day, when he said, yeah, I'm not either. And that's one of the ways to start the conversation is don't be afraid to say, yeah, that really bothered me too.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the only one that got bothered on that call. Like that really sucked. It really hurt. I didn't really,
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that takes a lot of courage within yourself to look at a colleague or a subordinate or anything else and say,
even a friend.
Yeah, that screwed me up too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a key thing to be able to. We're all in the same battle.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And statistically, it's a losing battle.
Sure.
And the more people that ask for help, or the more people that are trained to recognize who needs help,
Mm-hmm.
or a conversation, or I see Matt on there. I was going to say who needs their Matt, but I'm not, because I owe him a quarter every time I say that.
Royalties.
Copyrights.
Royalties,
yeah. So to recognize it and to be able to have that conversation, and then now, so in 25 years, to be able to go on a call and be like, shit, this one's going to keep me up.
Mm-hmm.
Or I know it's going to keep me up, so I know it's going to keep the probie up. I know it's going to keep this guy up. I know because you know your people. We've had this conversation in previous things. So then now, instead of letting it keep me up, hey, how about let's debrief?
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Hot
set
wash.
this up. What was it? Hot wash.
Doing your hot washes.
Let's
and your debriefs
sit
and-
down
Tailboard
and initiate and engage in good conversation. And hey, I'm going to start it.
Mm-hmm.
That call sucked.
Well,
And that call brought this, and this up for me personally,
Mhm.
and falling on that sword. And I think that's how you end the stigma, is by educating and training and coaching. And whether you want to be a coach or not, that, Megan told us, Jen told us, hey, we'd love for you guys to be coaches, but you don't have to be.
whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready.
yeah.
And Chris brought up a good point. He said, I firmly believe that therapists do not understand is the reason people don't go. I think coaching will reach more responders faster. And I think that's true. I think if you start with a group of, with your group of people, your similar-minded, like-minded people, then you will be able to reach people of similar mindsets quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having that stigma of, okay, I'm going to go lay on the couch and talk to somebody. And, it's a, to me, it's more of the, I know who I can go to and talk to. And I know where my mat is, or who my mat is.
That's 75 cents.
Why did I say almost 50 cents?
No, he said
Oh,
25.
okay, that's right. Okay, so 75 cents.
So-
checks in the mail, bud.
I think it's and when we had our guest from South Carolina on the show,
Mm-hmm.
and I apologize if she's watching this. The name totally slipped my mind, but she talked about how they have like these group sessions, and the more that I think about what we do, especially in this setting, and I really wanted to capture that whenever we did our thing at VFW in Morgantown there, but at that point we hadn't started the coaching training, and now as I look at it, we can do that much differently, because you can have those real quick snippets of coaching in the middle of that of, hey Josh, how was the week, and then playing right off of that of boom, 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 and giving that 10-minute coaching session with people in the room to be able to at least gauge their interest in how far does this want to go? How many of these folks, in this room now said, ooh, that's not the approach that I thought it was going to be, or, ooh, that's an interesting question, or that's an interesting way to set it up. And I think that's important for us to do as a group to promote the coaching is to have those, 10-minute dialogues, on camera, off camera, whatever, to be able to more solidify what the purpose is out here.
Yeah.
I think getting people used to what coaching looks like. I mean, that was like week 1 of class. We did a mock coaching, and
right out of the gate.
And I wasn't ready for it. And I think we all talked about this. Like, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
Megan jumped right into it, and I'm like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Because honestly, in the back
So
of my
demanding.
mind, she is. But we love her for that. But when she started that, like, because I did the first one with her, and I was in a vehicle with my dad. I forget where we were going. We were going somewhere. I was in a vehicle with my dad, and she started, and I'm like, what are we doing? And the way that she approached it, again, it's just a conversation.
You were going to your daughter's band.
Oh, band thing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you. It was Christmas time.
Yeah, it
Around
was.
Christmas time. But I mean, starting the conversation and just having that open, honest conversation. And it started as just that. And I think that we're so, if you think that coaching is about getting in touch with your interpersonal feelings, it's not.
No.
Right out of the gate. It eventually will get you there.
So I tell you what, here is one that a lot of first responders can relate to, and we can do this very, very quickly and very politely and that's finance, right? So let's say that
I thought he was going to ask us a good one. I was so nervous.
He was going to start coaching you.
I thought he was going to coach us. I was like,
about money.
We didn't talk
and that's
about
what
this.
Every first responder, I don't
Yeah.
care which side of it you're in, nobody will get rich being a first responder, right?
That's right.
So think about the finance side and come up with a 10-minute coaching session. Who wants to go?
Right now?
Yeah, why not?
You're up.
No, this is I'm running the computer.
Oh, I'm running the computer.
No, but I mean, okay. So if you are struggling with finances, first let's break it down. What would be, are you going to be able to make rent? Are you going to be able to make the house payment? Are you going to be able to make utility payments? Are you stuck between, am I going to do rent or a car payment this month? And
So let's say you be the coach. I'll be the coachee at this point. So think about the new probationary firefighter just got hired on their first paid gig, right?
Okay.
And the first thing they do is they go out and buy a new truck.
Oh, my.
They jack it up, lift kit,
Yeah.
wheels, tires,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards.
So-
now they can't make the payment.
That's not fair because at where I work I talk these guys into doing horrible financial stuff so they'll answer the phone and come out on overtime. So
You're a dirtbag.
I know I'm awful for it, but I want them to come to work.
you're a horrible person.
So okay, but it happens that their first big girl job or first big boy
Right,
job
right.
and their steady paycheck,
But that's what I'm
not
saying,
making
yeah.
minimum wage, and then they're going to do it. Dylan, what do you So what's going on?
Just barely have enough money to come to work.
Okay,
Just
why?
all the time, just struggling. Paycheck. I didn't think this job was going to be paycheck to paycheck.
Okay, what do you think it was going to be?
Well, seeing those big paychecks, I thought I'd still have money in reserve to, go eat every night and go out and hang out with the guys and hang out with my friends and we're firemen,
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think the paycheck? I mean, so you're saying it was a big paycheck. You seen a big paycheck coming in.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing that on the backside.
On the backside, okay. So, what was your first? What are you comparing it to, though?
Well, before I was working, at the Dairy Queen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir Dairy Queen's left.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's bound to be one somewhere.
So in that same time, so you're going from entry level into the workforce,
Yeah, minimum wage.
position into your career you're passionate about. And what's your hours? How often are you working
What now?
now?
Oh yeah, we work 24/48.
24/48.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
So
get overtime too, man, every week.
okay. So you have X amount of dollars that are coming in your base pay, right?
Mhm.
Okay, and that's what? Okay.
Yeah,
Whatever,
whatever
it
it
is.
is.
Okay, whatever it is. And
But man, this truck payment was only $750 a month. That was great. That's a great deal, right?
yeah, it sounds glorious.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you think about it, $750 a month. I'm bringing home like $1,100 out of every paycheck. And then my insurance only went up to $300 a month, so it was great. I thought that was a good deal.
so to understand you have so much money coming in. This is in this category, and then you have you ever had basic accounting or anything in school
Accounting? I was looking
far
at past
as,
math. Are you kidding me?
as far as being able to
Budget.
budget your
Do you have a
finances at
monthly
all?
budget?
A budget?
Have you well, so
I don't know how to do it.
so have you sat down and looked at the money you have coming in versus the money you have going out? So you would take your paychecks, for example, just whatever a base paycheck is, take that, add it up, and that's your total income for the month. And then you would take all of your expenditures that you would have, and you would total that up, and you would see either A, how much money extra you have that you can play with, or B, maybe you could see that there's something that you need to trim.
Well, I mean, I have it on like a checking account. Does that count?
No, absolutely not. So
check.
in a week's time, I want you to do exactly what Patrick said. I want you to take all money coming in and put it in this column, and then in the other column, I want you to take everything that's going out, and I want you to break it down to bills that you have to pay, your truck payment, your insurance, your rent, your utilities, everything that are guaranteed, what you have to pay in this category, and then anything else, the gas, the food,